everybody, and welcome back once again to the first edition of the 2015 season of Kreager's Corner. And I got with me right here in front of the camera, Tom Kreager himself. Tom, how you doing?
You're doing well. The season has flown by.
Tell you what, it just seems like we are just.
Seems like the Jamborees.
Yeah.
Jamborees, like last week, it seems like.
But running hot and running fast. What's going on? What are you into?
A big game this week.
Big game.
I mean, there's always a big game, but this one may be the big game.
Well, I think it's the one that's it's the one right now based on what we know, as we say as fans. It's the one that we think will set the stage for Week 11,
yeah.
and that's what we want to talk about. So let's jump right into it. Blackman, Oakland, over at Ray Hughes Stadium. All right, so let's start with the O. Who wins the offensive battle?
Well, I think you break it down. It's going to come down both sides of who can control the line of scrimmage, who can control the other one's defensive line. Because if you look at both teams, Blackman's got a pretty good defensive line.
Okay.
With Brown and Tillman and D'Angelo and all those guys, they've got a good D line.
Agreed.
All right. Flip side, Oakland's got the Shark, Ty Nix. They've got Terrell Ward. I mean, they're pretty good too up front. So the question is going to be, can either team control the line of scrimmage? All right. That's the first thing. I think, going into the game, I think it's a push. Both sides, it's a push. I think both defensive lines are going to be able to make plays Friday night. All right. One thing, talking to Coach Watson.
Okay.
One thing he said is explosive plays.
All right.
Now, define the word explosive play. Define the phrase. What to you is an explosive phrase may be different to me. To me, a play over 25 yards, to me, is an explosive play.
Sure.
Sounds like right to me. All right? You got to look at Jacoby Stevens.
All right.
He's probably the guy out of everyone. He's that explosive playmaker. But then you look at Miller. You look at Miller Armstrong.
Okay.
Been very, very steady.
All right.
You look at Taylor Dowdy, who's fit in well. Are they going to make explosive plays? I don't know on that defense, but I think they're going to make steady plays. I'll give Blackman a slight edge on offense, and here's why. If you look at what they've done, what Oakland has done week 2 and week 3, and really even week 1 against Hoover, I mean, they played behind every game.
Scratch that game.
Yeah,
I mean, let's throw it out for both of them. Both of them play.
They play a team over their heads.
That's right.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we both learned something. So that is out.
Okay, you throw out Hoover, throw out Clay Chalkville. Against Hillsborough, against Siegel, Oakland had to come from behind. They had early turnovers, early fumbles. So there's a big question mark, I think, going into the game of can they hold on the ball? If they get behind against a team like Blackman, the way they've looked against Tucker, the way they looked against Riverdale, defensively, they're starting to come a long ways with Kid Hartsfield at defensive coordinator. So Miller's been that guy, that bell cow that everyone's kind of circled around. He's a linebacker playing quarterback, I tell people, but he's a pretty dang good quarterback. He makes smart decisions. He's a smart, heady player. I mean, you've seen him on Friday nights. That's why I think on offense, you give them a slight edge. Not much, but you give them a slight edge.
All right, so offense. All right, now let's go to the other side of the ball. Let's go defense.
Good. You look at early on, Blackman's offense looked Blackman's defense looked really, really bad at times. McCauley, they just ran up and down the field. It took a last-second field goal there. They looked better against Riverdale. They gave up some big plays to Tucker.
Okay.
I mean, they found ways to get around it, but they did.
But whoa! I want to stop you right there. At times, when they want to stop a real important fourth down, certain situation, keeping somebody from scoring,
they do a good job.
They did it. They did it against McCauley.
Yep.
They did it against McCauley, and I think
they didn't make many stops, but they made a couple. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then I think they stopped Tucker.
They did, and that's one thing Coach Watson made the comment of, it's not so much how many points they're getting, how many yards they're getting. It's are we making stops when we have to? Yes, they are. I like this Oakland defense, though. I like it. The Sharks are. I think the Sharks are. They smell blood. I think they're hungry. They had a week off. I think there's enough playmakers that they're going to be able to make enough plays.
So you like the week off better than the hot hand?
On defense, I like the week off.
You like the week off?
On offense, I think offense may hurt them. But it also.
So you're saying the hot hand?
I think
the hot hand goes to the offense.
Yeah, I like the offense because they're in a roll. The defense, I think they're okay having a week off. They got some guys. If anyone that was deemed up, they got them better.
Right.
So I like the defense. So it's almost like a push. So then I guess you look at special teams, right?
That's what we're next to. That's the next topic.
You got to look at Thomas Burks. He's hit some big field goals, hit the game winner.
A little bit of an edge there.
You give him an edge there. Their kickoffs have been a little questionable a couple times. I don't think neither one has a punter that's just gonna rip 40-yard punts. But I think the kicking game. But then you look at this.
Flipping the field. You want to flip. You got to flip the field. I mean, it's not
then you also look at
kick. I want a good punt.
I like what I've seen out of Taylor Dowdy returning kicks, but they got Jacoby. They can put Jacoby back there, and he's a playmaker. They've had some issues on punt returns, where I've seen against Tucker, they had several punts. If you notice in that game, went off the guys couldn't catch it cleanly. I wonder who he's going to have back there catching punts Friday night. That's going to be something that is going to be very interesting. Do they put Dowdy back there? To me, you put a Dowdy back there just to have someone that's going to catch the ball. That's maybe one of those questions I have. I still give Blackman a small edge.
All right, so give me a score at the end of at halftime.
All right, I'm going to at halftime.
At halftime, let's just get to half.
You're gonna get me to half. I'm going to say Blackman's going to be up 10-6.
10-6.
It'll be low scoring.
All right.
This game is historically low scoring.
Oh, it was okay. All right. And then what do you think? And what separates it?
I think the second half. I think Miller Armstrong. It's going to be Miller time.
Yeah.
I think he's going to make a couple big runs. He's going to make a play either with his arm, with his feet, or catching the ball with a double pass. He's going to do something that's going to win the game for him. I think it's going to be 24-17.
24-17. And the winner?
Don't ask me how I got from 6 to 11, but 24-17. Blackman's going to win.
Well, right. I mean,
but I picked this game wrong the last 5 or 6 times, I think. So.
Well, you have been real right on some of them here lately.
Well, last week I had a rough week, but I've had 2 perfect weeks too.
Well,
but who's bragging?
Well. I mean, are the wins? I mean, are you picking cherry games? I mean, who'd you pick? Blackman, Tucker.
I picked Tucker.
All right, and then
if you talk to many people on that staff, I think Blackman's staff will tell you they were surprised at how dominant they were against Tucker.
Well, I think Tucker just fell apart and lost their way in the middle of the game.
Yeah,
that's their own fault. That's their own fault as athletes.
And I think they didn't have a quarterback to rally around them.
I think that quarterback is
DB.
He's a DB and playing quarterback, and I think that showed. Well, enough of that game. All right, so let's map it out. So the game ends. Mm-hmm. I'm going to come on the. I'm going to come right out and say a slight edge. What's
your final score?
Slight edge Blackman. I mean,
okay. You want to give me a score?
I think it's 3 points separates it.
Okay.
I think it's 3 points.
Yeah, it's a close game. I think it's down to the wire.
It could be. It's not going to be much. I just think that this thing's not. This thing's going to go back and forth. It's going to stay in the middle of the field for a long time.
Yeah.
I think.
Do you think it's a big defensive game of the
Yeah, I don't think it's going to turn into a runaway shootout. I mean, I just don't. And if it does, Blackman would love that.
Yeah.
Because they enjoy a shootout.
Here's something to think about. Brendan Matthews, their quarterback at Oakland.
Okay.
He hasn't thrown for more than 10 times in a game.
All right.
Did they let him loose this week?
No, I think you stick with what's going to work. I mean, I think Coach Creasy's. I mean,
I don't think Blackman's got a guy on in their secondary that can defend Jacoby one-on-one.
Right, but he doesn't need to get too far away. He's caught some fade routes and some post routes. I mean, but if he does get one-on-one and you toss it up, Jacoby will go after it. Mm-hmm. That's the difference between a decent receiver, I think, and a good receiver.
Yeah.
Jacoby knows how to. accelerate, throttle back, and make sure that he gets up underneath that ball. And if you notice, he does it very nonchalantly, but he adjusts to the quarterback's pitch in the air, and he runs to the ball, and that's what you're supposed to do. So let's map it out. So I've already said that I give a slight advantage to Blackman in this one.
It's okay.
All right, so let's map it out. Blackman wins. Probably more than likely, based on what we know, the rest of the season, these two guys, these two goon teams have decided they're either one or two, whichever. I mean, and it's not over yet. It's just going to give you. It's just
both teams have Smyrna. Both teams have Cookeville, who are off to good starts.
Oakland still got Riverdale.
Yep, and that's a Battle of the Borough game.
And Blackman still got Siegel.
That's an
I mean, so
game.
we're down. I mean, we go down this
games.
thing. I mean, this thing ain't over yet.
It's not over, but you got to think.
And Cookeville is a wild card.
Yeah,
in some ways.
They're undefeated, but they haven't played one. They've played Upperman, Livingston, I believe.
Upperman's always tough, Tom.
They
play four quarters.
You're right. Upperman's always tough in 3A.
Yeah.
This is the big boy league. Livingston's pretty tough in 4A.
Right.
White County.
Sparta.
This ain't girls basketball.
Yeah.
This is big boy football, right? Warren County.
No.
Not this time.
This may be the worst Warren County.
Well, if they're not careful, Warren County's going to end up 0-11, and TOC will have some questions because it'll be the first 0-11 football team in the history of Tennessee football. Think about it. Because 0-10, you're in the playoffs. You're going to Maryville 0-11.
Well, yeah, because Red Bowling Springs, when they were on that long losing streak,
they
only played 10 games.
Yeah, they didn't get a playoff game.
Yeah. So I mean,
so
there'll be some concern of adjustment.
Yeah, I think they play Sequatchie County yet. That's probably the one game you look at. So, all right, maybe they get past them, I think. But that's really the only game.
All right, so Blackman wins. Oakland's 2. So now we got slot 3 open. Is it Cookeville? Is it Smyrna?
Good question. I think it's Smyrna. Cookeville maybe a 4. Cookeville could slide down to.
Or is it Riverdale?
To 5 or 6 because Cookeville's got some fool's gold right now. We'll see a lot about Cookeville this week when they play Siegel. Because there's just a lot of unknown. Because when you look at what we talked about, who they've played, there's a lot of unknown. They've been very successful.
That Smyrna Riverdale game's the game we need.
Yeah, and Smyrna Siegel. I think there's
those two we need those two to finish the bracket.
Yeah, there's 3 games there. There's Riverdale Smyrna. There's Riverdale Siegel. There's Smyrna Riverdale. Those 3 games are the games you really look at, and then. Maybe a Cookeville, but we'll know a lot. I think after this.
Well, I think Cookeville's going to catch one of them. Not looking.
You think so?
I think so. I mean, Cookeville.
Well, if you're Siegel, I don't think Siegel's not going to catch anyone. No one's going to catch Siegel just looking. I mean, it's just if they beat them, it's just because they ran for another 500 yards on them. I mean, Siegel, I think can win this week. I mean, because we're going to see. One is Cookeville legitimate. We're going to see. All right, Siegel.
We're going to get a litmus test.
You're going to see how good this Cookeville team is that really hasn't played anyone, but yet they're scoring a lot of points. So you wonder, okay, how good are they really?
So then that flips it the other way. If Oakland wins and Oakland's number 1 seed, Blackman will go 2. So now we get to week 11 and just play it out a little bit, Tom, and just from right here what you're sitting at. Well,
week 11. Say week 11 passes.
All right,
no, we go
week 10. We're at week 10.
Well, week 11 is the last game of the regular season now. Remember that.
Okay, all right.
All right, so we go 1 through 11. The regular season's over. If you're, say Blackman's 1 as we predicted, they're the number 1 seed. That puts them in their bottom of the east part of the bracket.
Okay.
That puts Maryville. You gotta think Maryville's gonna go undefeated.
Right.
I mean, that's if history will tell us, Maryville's gonna go 10-0.
All right.
So Maryville's up here. Blackman's up here. They won't face until the semifinals if they face. Oakland, the way the crossbreeding is, you've got 1 through 8 in the East bracket, or in the Maryville bracket, and you got 1 through 8 in the Murfreesboro bracket. All right, you've crossbred those. So now what you've done is you put the number 2 out of Murfreesboro, Oakland, in the same basically quad of the Maryville bracket. So now you potentially have a Maryville versus Oakland quarterfinal game.
Okay, for week 3.
For week 3 of the playoffs. Now, here's the interesting tidbit of that whole bit. This would mark, there's potentially that Maryville would have to go through, to get to the state championship game, they would potentially have to go through 2, maybe even 3 or 4 Murfreesboro teams. I don't think they'll go through 4. I think there's a chance maybe 3. That would be the interesting thing of note because it'd be the first time we'll see can Maryville run the gamut. They've always had to go to a semifinal game, but can they beat? Can they survive a very physical game against Oakland or Blackman in the quarterfinal, and then the flip side the next week, and then be able to play back-to-back weeks, and then try to win a state championship with 2 very physical games back-to-back. Put them in a position where could they survive that next week if they were fortunate to get there.
Well,
that's the big question.
Well, anything else you're working on this week or anything else?
This is the last week before we get to midway point.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for our midway point, mid-season report card. May mix it up a little bit. I'm thinking trying something different, but starting to look at some things. And Siegel's defense has got to get better. They're giving up. They're giving up close to probably around 400 yards on the ground.
Yeah, it's not good.
They got to figure out a way. You've got to stop the ground game in high school football out of everything. I mean, their offense is scoring points. Grady had 4 touchdowns last week, so they're scoring points.
Oh, he's going to score.
Yeah, they're scoring points. They got to figure out a way
to stop teams.
To stop teams on the ground.
Well,
but I think the big thing is we'll know. I mean, I think Riverdale's a bit of an unknown. You know, they're looking for consistency?
Yeah.
What's he looking for? Consistency?
Yeah, he's looking for consistency.
Yeah, I think we're going to try. I think you're going to see Gene Odom play a lot of quarterback this week. So that's something unknown. Smyrna just had their first big test against Independence. Now they get Warren County this week. It's homecoming, so it's the homecoming team.
Yeah.
But they've got some big games coming up. You know, they've got Siegel coming up. They've got some
and
of those
they still
games.
got to go to Blackman.
Yep, and they got Blackman. I think right before maybe fall break. I think maybe.
Fall break, we're just about gonna have it mapped out.
No, yeah.
I mean, by fall break, whereas before we just didn't know.
Yeah,
I mean, there was too many.
Yeah, you've got Battle of the Borough after fall break, and you've got I think Oakland's.
Well,
maybe Oakland's
injuries may play this thing out too, because there's some people with not much depth in certain positions.
Well, you look at Oakland now; they've lost the quarterback, left the team, decided to go. He's going to leave the program, and now Brendan Matthews is the guy. And after that, now you're back to where you were in the spring of bringing in Wanye Moton, of getting him in the groove of being able to run the offense if something happens to Matthews.
Well, it'll be something. Let's gather up Friday night, and that is at Ray Hughes Stadium over at Oakland High School. It's 7 o'clock kickoff. The Blackman Blaze and the Oakland Patriots. And join me and Tom Kreager. And we'll see you then.
We'll see you guys.